All right, everyone, good afternoon. Hopefully you're having a great Tuesday afternoon for everyone here. Really excited to bring a new webinar to you guys today, how to use security to differentiate yourself from the competition and drive more profitable sales. It's a really exciting time of today's world because we have so much security stuff going on, so much ransomware, and I thought this would be a really good opportunity to bring two good friends of mine and some friends of the groups here with me. So I have Jay Ryers, CEO and CISSP of CEO of CARVIR, and also Jennifer Bleen, the Director of BD Business Development. Welcome, guys. Hopefully I can see you and you can see me.
Hopefully you can hear us. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yes, I can. So I'm going to, we have a bunch of good amount of live people coming on with us today. We are also simulcasting on Facebook. We're going into the residential MSP group. We're going into the IT and business owners group, and then also the IT and MSP social media marketing group. So we should have, by the time we're done, probably a couple thousand views, maybe even more of that. So I'm really excited to bring all this stuff to you guys today. I'm Jennifer. I'm going to let you kind of drive. I'm going to go on mute. I'll let you take over, and then I'll have some questions for you guys as we go. But welcome and fire away.
Beautiful. So like Chris had said, we are going to be talking about security, how to differentiate yourself. We're going to talk a lot about the changes that are happening in the marketplace, how you can keep yourself and your clients safe from today's threats. So as Chris said, I've got Jay Ryers on the line with me as well. If you're not familiar with Jay's story, he used to own an MSP outside of Atlanta and grew it from a one-man shop to about 15 employees and was acquired and hung around for a few years. During that journey, he actually won the Robin Robbins Better Your Best contest in 2015, won a brand new car. His MSP was named JTech Network after Jay. And he has a lot of different awards that he has won over the years, including that car, but also the 2015 MSP Mentors Top 501 MSP list, the 2014 World's Top MSP Executive Entrepreneurs and Experts. Also, that one was from MSP Mentor as well. And then he went in 2013, was his first year at the Technology Marketing Toolkit contest with the Better Your Best contest, and he was the runner-up. And that year he won a Rolex. So you could actually argue that the Rolex might be worth more today than the car. That's kind of Jay's story. My story, I ran the sales and marketing departments for a Washington, D.C. based MSP for about 7 years. I'm an expert in ConnectWise. I have spoken at industry events from coast to coast, including Technology Marketing Toolkit. I've spoken at a Kaseya event, Chartech events. I was the captain of the most successful accountability group in the Robin Robbins community, and I'm an Amazon bestselling author. So if you're not familiar with CARVIR, and CARVIR Cybersecurity is a global cybersecurity firm. We are channel only, and we exist to protect IT companies and your clients from cyber criminals. And we do this by providing best-in-class tools, a quality education, and an MSP-focused sales team and a security team, which we'll be talking about a little bit today. We're getting rave reviews from Channel Pro. ASCII loves us. About a month or so ago, ASCII awarded us with one of the coveted top 10 vendors at their ASCII Cup end of year celebration. And we also made it onto the MSSP alert list of the top 100 MSSPs. So I want to dive right into the content because I know your time is precious and time is money. So today we are going to cover the state of security. We are going to talk about a sales tool that you can use to have the security talk. And we're going to talk about some sample packages. How do you package it? How do you price it for either selling security to an existing client or a prospect? So that's why we have kind of selling different from upselling. And then how do you introduce security as a service to your prospects and your clients? So, Chris, I'm going to pause. I know when we were kind of reviewing the content, you wanted this to be a little bit more of an interview style, which was just fantastic because you and I play pretty nicely off of each other. So, what are the questions you're seeing come in, or what questions do you have for me?
Yeah, so actually I got one automatically here. So I don't know if this is something that we want to hit right now, but I think one of the big concerns on today's MSP world is obviously ransomware takeover. In fact, I saw one of my students today post that he had a client come back to him and say, "Hey, I don't want to have to try and figure out how to buy Bitcoin and pay somebody in Bitcoin." What do you guys, and I don't know how much you're going to go over today, so we can easily do some Q&A at the end, but how does that come into play, and what does your product all do? And I want to make sure that everybody's really comfortable with this and that they all understand how valuable these services are, because I saw this and I was, wish I had it back when I had my MSP, but maybe talk a little bit about that, go into those kind of things. And I think I have a bunch of questions already coming in. So I think let's maybe do a Q&A kind of closer to the end. If that's okay with you.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of MSPs are there where, one of their clients has been hacked or they've been hit with ransomware. And so it's very real. It's a very real trend. And we're going to be talking about that. And the reason that client of yours is probably concerned is this question that we like to start a lot of our presentations with, which is, who are clients going to blame when they've been hacked? And we all know, and I still say we as an MSP, because I was an MSP long enough that I still consider myself, an MSP owner operator. But when one of our clients is hacked, the first thing they're going to do is point a finger at us. And obviously ransomware, it's a growing trend. So that's why we're seeing more and more MSPs concerned about it, more of our clients that are concerned about it. And it's growing. It was actually expected to, I believe, quadruple in 2017, and it's already exceeded that with WannaCry and NotPetya. So it's a growing problem. It's not going anywhere. But the challenge that you're going to run into is that a lot of these ransomware attacks seem to start overseas. And they seem to really, at least that's what the news is covering about the UK and, way overseas. And so what happens is that your clients, your prospects can put their head in the sand and pretend that it's not going to happen to them. In reality, Newsweek came out with something just a few months back that said that ransomware attacks are hitting the United States the hardest. And so one thing that you'll see us talking about a lot in the channel is encouraging you to start to gather the stories of U.S. businesses and your local businesses, your local counties, and talking about how it is hitting the United States, how it is hitting small businesses. There is an article out there. It is lengthy, but I highly recommend that everybody take the time to read it. This was just last month, about almost exactly a month ago now, where the New York Times is talking about how the NSA has secrets that, whether they were breached or whether they had a rogue employee or something like that, for whatever reason, these NSA secrets are in the wild. And it's really talking about how it's shaken the NSA to its core and how it's really affecting morale and affecting the core values of that entity. And it does a great job of explaining exactly where the threats are coming from now. So it's a lot more than just, the hacker in the garage or whatever is in your head. These are our government secrets that are being used to attack us. They're being used to attack sheriff's departments. So we have hacks of sheriff's departments. We know of at least 9 that have been publicly disclosed this year. There's actually several more that are about to come public. But what happens when a police department is hacked is that they lose evidence. They use, in this case, they lost some body cam footage. A lot of things had to be done with paper maps instead of using dispatching systems and things of that nature. And just to kind of give you an idea, to bring it down a little bit closer to home, this is a 140 user law firm that was hacked almost a year ago. They had an incident, and just to put some numbers behind it, and this is really important as you're walking into your sales calls to know exactly the business risks that your clients have and your prospects have if something like this gets in. So in the case of this 140 user law firm, there were over 5 million encrypted files. They ended up paying the ransom. It was a $25,000 ransom. And it's interesting that you talk about, Bitcoins. You never want that client to have to say to you, what's a Bitcoin? How do I buy one? And how do I, electronically transmit it to some nameless, faceless entity? This company had to pay the ransom. And the reason they had to pay the ransom is because the backups were corrupted. Now, we use the word corrupted. It's important for you to understand that when you looked at the backup routines, they had the nice, pretty green check mark showing that the backups were actually successful. But in reality, the criminals had actually been inside the network for almost a year, and they had actually changed the backup routines. So all they were backing up were just routine Windows files, and they weren't actually backing up any files. And so again, we use the word corrupted. The backups were backing up, which is why there was that beautiful green check mark, but it was useless in this case. So this law firm ended up being down for 2 weeks. It ended up, and the reason they were down for so long is that it took 39 hours per terabyte to restore the data. So that's pretty significant. It's obviously a crazy amount of time, and just to bring a law firm back up, you have to kind of bring up all the systems almost at the same time. So it becomes pretty crazy of a situation. And then earlier this year, we have a public school system where the public school database is hacked. And then essentially we call these guys lawless scumbags because they have zero morals and ethics. They're essentially texting the parents saying, I'm threatening to kill your kid. Wasn't legit. It just that they had everybody's text, they were able to text message all of the parents because they'd hacked in and, stolen all of that data. So, Chris, I'm going to pause. I know we're doing Q&A at the end, but any questions coming in that you feel like I should tackle?
Yeah, I got one here. I think they're all technical in nature so far. So I think you actually could go in. I actually have 6 questions. One is, does this replace antivirus, anti-malware, open DNS umbrella? How does it work? So that kind of stuff, I think. In my opinion, I think you can roll through, keep going, and then we'll hit the questions up as we go. I also have 4 things to monitor, so I'll keep going on them. So I'll keep going.
No worries. I'll just blaze a trail. I'll let you interrupt me if you need to. I'm good with that. I got pretty thick skin. Awesome. All right. So we took a look at kind of some bigger businesses, larger counties, but I want to take a quick look at some SMBs and what's happening inside the channel. So this particular quote is from a CARVIR partner, and it gives me chills every single time I read it. It's anonymous, and it's anonymous for a reason. You'll be able to see why in a second. So he says, I'll never forget the phone call I got from CARVIR alerting me that they had stopped an attack on one of my clients' machines. To them, it was probably just another day at the office, but to me, it was huge. The computer that got attacked controls the water distribution for our entire county. Had the attack been successful, my county and potentially my company would have made national news. So that's one example of an MSP who had a client who was absolutely attacked, and had it been successful, it would have been really bad, not just for his county, for his company. This is a dentist office. So this is someone who reached out to us, and he said, I just finished the onboarding webinar as a CARVIR partner. He had a dentist prospect that he'd been chasing stupidly for a while. I basically just told him, I'm giving you this spectacular deal. You haven't taken it. You'd have to be a moron not to take this, and I don't deal with morons, which I just love. Well, he just called. Severely infected crypto-style ransomware. And so here's one more. This was earlier this year. We have a managed client. They were using WebRoot, and it was a crypto locker attack. It activated overnight. All the files were locked. They actually got off pretty easy because it was only $1,000 to get them unlocked. And obviously, we don't know how it got in or what machine it started on. And that was a client that was just, partner was just running regular antivirus. And I say $1,000 and he got off easy, but that doesn't count stress with the client. Are we going to get all the data back from the criminals or not? And lost reputation and downtime. And so obviously it is a pretty significant issue. And we are seeing this almost daily. We're getting about 10 or 12 IT companies that are reaching out to us every week because their client has been hacked. We know of 9 MSPs who were personally breached in Q2 of this year and 11 in Q3. Obviously, Q4 isn't done yet, but it's going to go up from the 11. And so it's a pretty significant problem. And the other thing that we like to talk about is that MSPs are actually being targeted. It's this group called, or this operation called Operation Cloud Hopper. Think of it like a marketing campaign, if you will. They are targeting managed IT service providers. They are targeting MSPs. Essentially, it's a group of threat actors called APT10, and they want to get into you. They want to get into the MSP networks because they know if they can get into you, they generally have unfettered and direct access to your client's data. And therefore, you represent to these criminals, you're a high payoff target. And so you're right up there with small governments and, water treatment centers and utilities and MSPs. It's pretty crazy. And then Cloud9 had an incident, a security incident, back at the beginning of September, where they noticed some abnormal readings, if you will, in their input-output, and essentially they found out that there was an unauthorized outside party inside of their network, and they engaged with RSA. Anytime you see a company engaging with RSA, you know that they are throwing money after the problem to try to find out exactly how serious it is. And then one final example is this IT service provider in North Carolina. They had a contract with the state of Vermont, and there was a breach with 660 social security numbers that were posted on a website. You can go out and read the details, but essentially that IT company agreed to a $264,000 settlement due to the breach. So it's obviously very scary out there. There's a lot of scary stuff going on. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of merge onto to start talking about ransomware, because I know, Chris, that's some of the questions that have come in.
Well, and actually, so, I have a really good one to start out.
Yeah, go for it.
If you want here. This
yes.
one, and I think it applies going into this slide. Someone asked how you roll back a ransomware attack. So can you, I don't know if you're going to get into talking about the technical specifics, but I think this might be a really good opportunity to dive in and kind of piggyback with what you're talking here.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, we're definitely going to get into the technical, but very quickly, Carver does offer a solution where you're able to roll back a ransomware attack. Essentially, the tool that we use has a patented process whereby we protect the Windows shadow copy, and then we prevent it from being deleted. We can go into that in a little bit more detail, but that's the high level overview. Is essentially we're leveraging something that's already native to Windows machines. It's brilliant in terms of how simple it is. It's kind of like Velcro. Like once you see how it works, you're like, man, I wish I would have come up with this. I'd be like retired on a Caribbean island sipping margaritas or something like that. So it's pretty sweet, and it absolutely works. It's just brilliant in terms of how simple it is. And so that's ransomware, and ransomware is scary, and it is out there, and it is growing. But what we want to make sure is that you're capitalizing on the ransomware opportunity. And the reason why we call it an opportunity, there's a couple of reasons. Number one, the majority of MSPs, 85% of MSPs are not offering any type of security services. They're not dipping their toe in, they're not going whole hog, they're just not offering it at all. So if you're on this webinar because you're trying to either figure out how to get started or how to expand your security services, you're in a really, really good spot, because that puts you in the minority, which is fantastic, because your clients, your prospects, all of the SMBs across the country and across the globe are reading the same headlines that you're reading, and they know that they need a solution from someone, and they're either going to buy it from you or they're going to find another MSP to buy it from. So if you're offering those services, you're in a very, very good position. The other reason that we say that ransomware is an opportunity, we talk to a lot of IT companies, and many of you have been trying to educate your clients for probably 4 or 5 years on what ransomware is. And I've heard, through one-on-one conversations or newsletter articles or, sometimes webinars, seminars, quarterly business reviews, and seemingly clients turn a deaf ear. They just don't hear what you're saying. But thanks to all the news broadcasts in the world and all the newspapers and the internet, your clients and your prospects are now aware that ransomware is a thing, and they are aware that they are at risk, and therefore they're interested in a solution. And so if you can offer them a way to solve the problem, you're riding in like a on a white horse, like a knight in shining armor, and you're going to be able to help them out. So it's awesome. It's a really, really great time to be in the IT channel and great time to be in security because it puts you in the minority and you're solving a really big problem.
Yeah, and I think just tackling that a little bit, we have a couple of people that are in the groups here that we're broadcasting in that do a lot of Facebook Live video, emphasizing these things. This is a huge opportunity. You're spot on, Jennifer, that you can use the major network news, use your local news as a carrier for your signal, basically. Get out there, educate. And bottom line is, if you're not in front of your client or your prospect, specifically your prospect, because this already should be in front of your client in some capacity, and hopefully they have your stuff. But if you're not in front of your prospect, somebody else is going to get in front of them. So you need to make sure you do that. And while Facebook's only one of the mediums, you need to be in front of them in every capacity.
Yeah, we get a lot of people asking us, how does the conversation go? How do I have that conversation? And we liken this to the birds and the bees. So bear with me. That's a little bit of an abstract analogy, but by the time we get done with this particular slide, I think you'll agree with me. So how is having the security talk with your clients like having the birds and the bees conversation with your kids? So first of all, it's uncomfortable. Secondly, it's not, security is not something that you usually discuss in public. Hey, what's your network security look like? Hey, what kind of firewall do you have? It's just not what you talk about in public. And you may not know exactly what you want to say. You get the basics, and I'm not going to go any further than that, but you don't know exactly how to explain it. And the bottom line is that hope is not a strategy, and typically your clients aren't going to ask you, to help them understand security. So I want to provide kind of an outline of how to have that conversation. First of all, you do have a responsibility to your clients to have this conversation with them. Your customers have heard the news and they are frightened and they have questions, and they are expecting you to come to them with answers. So essentially, here is your script. You expect me to keep you safe. Threats have changed and technology has changed. The good news is technology can keep up with those threats, and I want to tell you about it. Now, incidentally, that 4, 5, and 6, that makes for a great Facebook Live video. And it's funny, Chris and I didn't even plan that, but essentially, my job is to keep you safe. You're not safe, but I can get you safe. Those are your 3 points for an awesome Facebook Live video. And then the other thing is that you need to make sure they're aware that compliant does not mean secure. So just because they can check the box for PCI compliance or HIPAA compliance, as vague as that is, just because they're compliant does not mean that they're secure. And then ultimately, if they do decline to pick up your recommendation in terms of security, you need to have a decline of service letter, decline of service contract ready, and have them sign it. I understand that I'm not secure, and I'm absorbing these risks, and I'm accepting these risks, and I understand that if something does happen, it's going to be billable, and you'll make your best effort. But I agree to pay, and so that often that decline of service letter will convince them to take a second look at it and to take your recommendation seriously.
At the very least, that's a get out of jail free card, right? I mean, I used that back with the BDRs when they first started launching, and we definitely had people that were like, no, not interested in backup, don't need to spend any kind of money on that. But that letter makes them at least rise up, and at the very least, if they get bit, gets you out, bails you out a little bit. So I think that compliant doesn't mean secure thing is a really, really big thing. Also, my MSP focused a lot on the financial vertical. We did a lot of financial investment advisors along with the medical vertical. They all assume just because they're compliant with FINRA or Sarbanes-Oxley or HIPAA that they're going to be fine. Like, this is all we need, right? So that is those are great tips and great points.
Excellent. So we also want to provide you with a tool. This is a sales tool that you can use to have that security talk. So this was a Carver exclusive infographic just for our partners, but we are making it available for free. If you go out to our website, carvir.net, and it's CARVIR.net, carvir.net/security. You can download this as a PDF. This is vendor agnostic, and so you can use whatever vendors you want to, but this is a very, very good way to have that security conversation. And essentially, you're going to check the things you're already doing for your client. You're going to circle where there's gaps, and then you're going to recommend how to patch those holes. So I kind of want to walk you through how that works, and then we'll get more into kind of packaging and pricing. So the first thing is to have a security assessment. We love the guys over at Rapid Fire Tools. It's important to measure. Anything that you measure is going to get better. So do a security assessment, especially on your clients. If you're not doing it on your clients, it is only a matter of time before one of your competitors comes in, does a security assessment for your clients, and then finds out that there are some gaps that you could have patched had you been aware of them. The second thing is to make sure that you're stopping spam. So again, most of you can probably check that box pretty easily. If you're not already stopping spam, take a look at Mail Protector, Mimecast, Reflection. Take a look at those tools. Again, you're going to have this conversation with your clients and your prospects. Make sure that they have good password policies. Now, this is really designed to be focused on the end user. This is end user facing. So while that says passwords, you and I know that it's broader than that. So we're talking about password policies. How many times do they need to put their password in? How complex are their passwords? How quickly do they expire? Things of that nature. So make sure you've got some solid group policies in place. If you need help with that, go out to thirdtier.net, and you can make a donation there. It's a group of former Microsoft MVPs or bigwigs, if you will, and they've put together some sample policies for you there. Multi-factor authentication. Make sure you are protecting all of your data. If you're not doing that, that's a great place to start. Some good tools there. Anvil, Duo. So take a look there. Computer updates. This is really a pay-to-play kind of a thing. Most of you, if you are in the MSP space or you're moving into that space, you're already doing routine computer updates using some type of an RMM tool like Continuum or Kaseya or LabTech. But I would encourage you. This is one of those areas that you need to trust but verify. I cannot tell you the number of incidents that we've been brought into after the fact where the MSP thought that their client was in good shape because they'd been providing all of the computer updates, and again, lots of pretty green check marks. And in reality, we have seen instances where the updates haven't been applied for as long as 2 years, which is just insane, because if your client is paying you for that, you've really got to make sure that that's happening. And the next area that you're going to want to review is dark web research. We are great friends with our colleagues over at Dark Web ID, also called ID Agent. Essentially, what they do is scan the dark web to see if there are credentials for sale, to see if your clients or your prospects' credentials have been hacked or stolen and out, for sale out on the dark web. So that's obviously valuable. It becomes a differentiator in a sales meeting as well.
One of the things real quick on that, it's very interesting to me how much MSPs have this set it and forget it mentality. And across the board, that can't be applied with anything security, anything updates. There was many companies when I had my MSP going back in 2015 is when I last was in that world. But even back then, there were companies that we walked into that had a managed services contract, and they were a year out of date, 2 years out of date, because they were just like, okay, it's updating, the tools got it, move on. Nobody managed. So it's really, really important that you're, like you said, maintaining this, can't be set it and forget it, stay on top of your stuff and trust but verify.
Yeah, and an easy way to make that happen is, just when you roll a truck, which probably isn't often, but when you do roll a truck and you're out on site, just make as the last step of your checklist that person on site physically touches at least one or two machines and make sure that they're up to date. You're spot checking, but that's certainly better than doing nothing. And then if you find that consistently you're finding machines that all the green check marks were there, but they were out of date, then you need to put in more of a holistic solution. Maybe take a look at every machine, or every machine on every client once a quarter or something like that, to make sure that you're doing your job. Because Chris is right. I mean, it's only a matter of time before someone comes into one of your clients and says, well, what are you paying them for every month? This machine and that server are all out of date, and this one's not running antivirus because it was decommissioned, or whatever. It just becomes a mess. So absolutely. And then if we move on this checklist, some of the essentials, firewall. We get a lot of questions about firewall, which firewall manufacturer we recommend. I mean, Meraki makes a good one, so does SonicWall, so does Fortinet. Get a solid enterprise level firewall, and then turn on all of the security features, intrusion prevention, intrusion detection, and make sure that you leave them on. Again, we have seen several instances where in the process of troubleshooting, let's say, Sally in accounting can't get out to her online banking site. The technician simply turned off some of the firewall features, closed the ticket, and went on, and then it's only a matter of time before that blows up in your face because the firewall isn't actually doing what your client paid for that firewall to do. So just make that a policy. On the encryption side, make sure you're encrypting files at rest, files in motion, mobile devices, all of your email, all of that data. So if you're not doing that, look at ESET or Sophos or Beachhead. They've all got great solutions. And then backup. First of all, this is another area where you've got to verify that the backup's actually, number one, backing up, number two, backing up what you think it is backing up. So make sure it's actually backing up documents. Do those test restores, those fire drills where you actually make sure that the data is there and you can use it if you need to. Datto, eFolder, and Tronus all have great products. We are a big Datto fan, but the other ones are solid solutions as well. And you want to have an online solution like a BDR. You want to have something local, but you also want what I call an air-gapped backup, where you actually have a physical, you're backing up physically and you're saving it in a fireproof safe. And you want to have probably 8 to 10 months, maybe even a year worth of those types of backups, because when the threat actors get in and they start making changes to your network, from a forensic standpoint, you need to be able to show how the network was before they got in. And so that's a piece of that backup solution that a lot of providers are simply not talking about. And then you need to make sure that you are securing the most common entry point. And so the first one I want to talk about is your users. Make sure that they know what to click on, what not to click on. They tend to be very forgetful, or deaf, or maybe some of both. So make sure that you are training them often and repeatedly. A couple of companies there, the folks over at Breach Secure Now, they also have a HIPAA Secure Now product. And then the guys over at KnowBe4 are fantastic. And then advanced endpoint security. And this is the space that CARVIR plays. We cover the advanced endpoint security. It's sometimes a little bit confusing. We usually see at least one question come in saying, wait, does CARVIR do all of these things? This is not a sales tool for why you should do business with CARVIR. This is your sales tool to use for why your prospects should do business with you. And so we're showing you different ways to check the boxes. And the best way to check that advanced endpoint security box is to work with CARVIR. So I want to move into how MSPs are packaging security. The first option is to stack your offers. So we're gonna call this one Security Plus. And so this would include that awareness training, the advanced endpoint security, and the dark web ID. And you'll price this somewhere between $11 and $15 per month per user. So again, you've just walked your client, your prospect through that checklist. You've checked off what they have, and then you've got these big old circles where there's gaps in their security. And now you're coming in as the expert and saying, here's where I recommend we start. And so this is a great place to start. It's $15 a month per user. I'm going phone on the high end. That's just kind of how I'm wired. So if it's a 10-person law firm, it's $150. You've just patched a ton of holes and added quite a bit of recurring revenue to your bottom line, especially if you apply this across your whole base. Another option is to bundle awareness training, that employee training, with some type of an open DNS or some other kind of DNS filtering like Umbrella, multi-factor authentication, and advanced endpoint. And there you're going to be showing maybe 15 to 20 bucks a month, $15 to $19 per month per user. And it's important for you to understand that if you are including labor in your contracts, if it's an all-you-can-eat style contract, creating a security offer like you see on the screen, these are actually going to reduce your bottom line because there's going to be less labor to support your client. So essentially, you're keeping so many of the threats out that your ticket count is going to go down, which obviously drives revenue to your bottom line. You're more profitable. Clients are happier. Employees are happier. So it really is a win-win. This is a sample of how you can kind of present it graphically, if you will. And this package is what they're calling their essential security solutions. And it includes the awareness training, DNS filtering, advanced endpoint security, and they're pricing it at $15 per month per user. So that's another option. And then you can also decide that you're going to upgrade your existing MSP package and go back to existing clients and say, hey, moving forward, every month we're going to do a monthly vulnerability scan. We're going to continue to manage all of your patches. That definitely ties into security. We're putting in an advanced endpoint security protection, and we're going to do monthly dark web checks, show them all of the business implications if they don't have those, let them know you're being their trusted advisor by pointing out some gaps, and then ask if they would like to add, again, if it's a 10-user network, say, for $300 a month, we can take care of all of those vulnerabilities. Another option is to simply create an a la carte menu where you either suggest or you allow your clients to pick from that menu, and you can include like a vulnerability scan, you can include the umbrella or the awareness training, and kind of let them pick and choose email encryption, full disk encryption, managing their firewall, putting together policies and procedures types of document, and mobile device security. So those are kind of some a la carte ways of getting into security and secure your clients a little bit better.
So I actually have a question here that I think is completely relevant to this. How effective are your partners at upselling existing clients?
That's an awesome question. I don't know that we have a slide on it. I can't remember. We added back in and out a couple of times. So our partners are saying, going back to existing all-you-can-eat clients, they are able to upsell anywhere from 60 to 90% of their existing client base. Obviously, some of that depends on their clients, depends on the package, depends on your salesmanship, but the lowest rate I have heard is 60%. The highest is 90%. It's never 100%. Everyone is, you're never going to get everybody to buy, what you're offering. But 60 to 90% is a pretty solid conversion rate. And it looks like you might have another question. Let me get you to hold that, because I think even more important than how many of my clients can I sell this to is how much money I can make. Because that's really the bottom line is can I make money actually selling this? So we've put together just kind of a sample package and some approximate dollar figures of what it would cost you. So if you bundle awareness training, spam filter, patch management, endpoint security, and multi-factor authentication, which for whatever reason I'm having lots of trouble saying today, your cost per month is going to be a little less than $10, and the suggested selling price is about $25 to $39 per month per user. So even if you take that and multiply it times that low end, 60% of the users that you're supporting, this drives quite a bit of revenue to your top line. But more importantly to me is the margin. So you have a lot of money flow into that bottom line, and it's a pretty low maintenance. It's not quite a set it and forget it with most of these, but it's about as close as you're going to get.
Well, and I think
Jennifer,
yeah, go ahead, Jay. Go ahead.
Say it's also common for our partners to use this as a wedge into existing supported customers. So, MSP A has this customer and they're doing some basic MSP services, and you offer security as a service. You come along, you package in your awareness training, your spam filtering, your patches, your endpoint, your multi-factor authentication. You can wedge your way into an existing MSP opportunity with security in what we call land, expand, and colonize. Land the account, get in the door with security, and then you can expand as you learn more about the environment and what's going on. And so we can hear that as often as we hear that our clients are upgrading their current customers.
Yeah, that's funny because that's almost exactly what I was going to talk about. We used to go in the door a lot of times with voice options, and because so many people were looking for new voice platforms, it was very easy to land and expand with the voice or telco offering. You can do exactly the same thing here, and this is so hot right now. It's so available. I think, yeah, you just hit that right on the head. I think this is a big opportunity, and the cost is so, you look at the estimated cost versus the estimated margin. You can make $30 per user per month selling something that is actually better than insurance in this case. That's a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, and they're aware that they need it, and they are scared, and they're looking for someone to help them. Their option is to either put their head in the sand and pretend like there's not a risk, which in their heart of hearts they know that there is, or they're going to rely on you to bring this to them. So it really is a fairly easy sale, as far as selling IT goes. So for sure. Another really easy way to dip your toe in and start to become seen as a security expert is to lead with advanced endpoint security. You kind of table creating a bundle, because then you have to learn a few different manufacturers and figure out your price points and code them all into your PSA tool or your proposal tool and all of that. So a lot of people are simply leading with advanced endpoint security, and they're using that 12 ways document and saying, listen, the only box we're going to check this quarter is this one. It's a big gap. They talk about the NSA. They talk about ransomware. And they lead with advanced endpoint security and price it around $6 to $10 a month per workstation, about $25 to $50 per server per month. And that's a huge win right there, because it's patching a tremendous hole. And in fact, we like to ask what the biggest threat is to the networks that you manage. And it's actually relying on legacy antivirus tools. And this is I'm not sure the demographics of the group that's on with us today, but if you're not sure what this antiquated machine is that you're looking at, this is called a knuckle buster, and this is how many of us used to process credit cards way back in the day. And so suffice it to say that if you are still relying on legacy AV tools to protect your clients, that is the equivalent of using a knuckle buster to process credit cards, because legacy AV, signature-based AV, has remained virtually unchanged for almost 3 decades. So you can't rely on 25, 30-year-old technology to protect you from the kinds of threats that you're seeing today, like the NSA threats and just the craziness. So as you're starting to look into next-generation tools and figuring out how to keep your clients safe, some things that you want to make sure you include is the ability to detect threats, to see where in the world this computer or this network has connected to. You want to make sure that you're able to prevent those threats, to be able to see in real time exactly what is happening. Ideally, from a behavioral standpoint, the days of stopping threats because they're a known bad threat because of the signature, those days are past. Traditional AV is dead. You absolutely have to have something that's behavioral, that's able to see exactly what the threats are. You want some advanced forensics. So in this case, we've got a couple of keystroke loggers that are installed. This is Microsoft Word that's launching a proxy, which is abnormal. And you've got that wait for command. And depending on time, we may have time to kind of go into what exactly that wait for command is doing and how that's making your job as far as troubleshooting these things that much harder. And then the ransomware rollback, which we've kind of touched on. I love that the questions are coming in on that. This is a huge need. The ideal is that the ransomware would never get in. And in fact, CARVIR, the CARVIR solution that we offer, is excellent at keeping ransomware out in the first place. But you want that fallback position. You want all of those layers of security. That's what security is all about. So you want to ideally detect it up front or stop it while it's executing. But in the worst case scenario where it actually gets in, what's the plan then? And so it's pretty important. The Sentinel-1 tool that we use, it's the only one that we know of that can truly roll back a ransomware attack, even if the threat was missed earlier in the process. So it's one more layer of security, whereas a lot of the companies that are using the term roll back, they're not truly rolling back unless they knew it was a threat in the first place. And so the tool that we are providing as far as the advanced endpoint security is a tool called Sentinel-1. It is considered an antivirus replacement, so that's not an unusual question. And I think that I saw one of those questions come in like, okay, is it AV? What exactly is Sentinel-1? I know you needed to check a box. So in your head, know that it checks the box for antivirus, but just think of it like antivirus on steroids. It's stopping viruses, malware, ransomware, zero-day attacks. It's looking for credential scraping. I mean, it's a lot more than just antivirus, but yes, it does replace antivirus. And the kinds of clients that Sentinel-1 usually works with are clients like Rackspace and Netflix and Walmart. CARVIR is the channel distributor for Sentinel-1. So for most of you on this call today, Sentinel-1, if you reach out to them, they're actually going to send you to CARVIR. They simply don't work with the typical MSP. Now, if you want to buy 1,000 or 2,000 seats and pay a year in advance, you're not the normal MSP. You have grown explosively, and then that's a different conversation. But for the normal MSP, your best bet is going to be to go with CARVIR. And that's because the Sentinel-1 tool offers a before, a during, and an after approach to the problem. And so before the threat even executes, that's that antivirus space where we check that box very, very well. During execution, that's where we are looking for behavior that deviates from normal behavior. And so we stop it there. And then after the fact, and this is a pretty key differentiator, after the fact, what Sentinel-1 does is pass all of the reports and all of the forensics off to the CARVIR team. And so we have a security operations team. It's 24/7 where we're dealing with the threats that come in. We're able to remediate. We're able to analyze the forensics for you. Again, we can roll back that ransomware attack if needed, but we can tell you exactly what got in. And essentially what we're doing is providing your team a level of visibility and management like you've never had before. So those are really the three big pieces. You know, when MSPs are coming to us, there's really three pieces to the puzzle. If you want to think of it like a triangle or a three-legged stool, it's the tools that we are providing. It's the SOC. So obviously, with us being just north of Atlanta, it's a North America, or just north of Atlanta, North America-based SOC. And then we also give you marketing and sales support. The frustrating thing to us is that MSPs for too long have put up with tools that don't work and that are not keeping up with today's threats. And so you have to have tools that work, but more importantly, you've got to be able to sell them, and you've got to be able to sell them at a profit. And so that's what you get. You get the tools, you get the SOC managing it for you, and then you get our team teaching you how to sell this at a really nice margin. So quickly, because I know we have a ton of questions coming in, we do have a partner program. It's got the incident response around the clock and the threat team. It is enterprise level antivirus. It includes the ransomware rollback. It includes the forensics reporting, all of the marketing assistance, the sales coaching. We even give you 20 workstation licenses and 2 server licenses to get started. There is no long-term contract. It is literally month to month. We believe that we should earn your business every single month. And with as quickly as security is changing, it's important that you're nimble. Today, CARVIR and the Sentinel-1 solution are the best option out there for MSPs. But if that changes tomorrow, you need to be able to exit. Excuse me. So the normal monthly is $297 per month. For everybody on this webinar today, and as a special arrangement with Chris, we are offering this for $197 per month. But we are also offering a sneak peek. So if you want to take a look at the tool and want to take a look at the marketing, we will let you get in. This is a one-day only, today only special for $12. And all you need to do, give me 1 second. Want to hit my mute button so I could clear my throat and not kill everybody's ears. So, and we do have a 30-day risk-free guarantee. So literally, you give us $12, you try it. If you're unhappy, you tell us. We may ask you why you're unhappy, but we're absolutely going to give you your $12 back. And then literally after that, it's $197 a month as opposed to the retail of $297.
So I actually,
if
real quick, Jennifer, on that,
go for
I had a conversation with one of my students today because I've not used your product as an MSP, so I just wanted to talk to him about it because I know he was using it. And you brought up the whole Sentinel-1 piece, and I was asking him about that. And he said something to me that was really, really critical that I feel that MSPs on this call or watching the replay should think about. In that, yes, you can go to Sentinel-1 Direct, you can buy 1,000 seats and pay a year in advance, like you said. But the thing that's a major differentiator for you guys is that SOC piece, how critical that is, how comfortable he feels by having that in front of him is a game changer for him. And he literally had you guys calling him, telling him that you stopped a ransomware attack. Like that is a huge, huge factor that completely convinced him that this product is a no-brainer. And I literally went to him and I said, hey, do you know anybody using this? He's like, I am. And he told me about that story. That was this morning. So I think that's a really, really big piece there, though, that the tools, the SOC, and the marketing and sales support, that's what makes it an MSP product, right? That's what makes it unique and that's what makes it amazing.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I mean, the Sentinel-1 is a fantastic partner, but they are used to supporting Visa. And they're used to selling to Visa. Visa doesn't need to know how to package this and how to price this. They're not doing webinars to MSPs. We just had a webinar with our partner base this morning all about how to walk through the sales process. How do I sell security? How do I position it? How do I go in and go to a client that just signed a contract with me a year ago and I told them that I was giving them the best possible antivirus? How do I go in today and tell them they need something new? And those are the kinds of conversations that Sentinel-1 isn't having on the marketing and sales side, simply because that's not the space that they play in. And then, like you said, Chris, on the SOC side, having us at your beck and call to work through an incident, work through a checklist. We know the typical mistakes that an MSP could make during one of these incidents, and we're going to walk you through those and make sure you don't make those mistakes. So you're going to get our checklists, our processes, and that's tremendous because we understand that the typical MSP doesn't have a 24/7 engineering team. We understand you don't have a CISSP on staff. That's why you need us, because that's exactly what we are bringing to you, is a high-level engineering team that it truly becomes an extension of your engineering team. So I would agree. I mean, I can't echo that enough.
Yeah, I didn't mean to kill your presentation there, but I thought that was really.
No, you're fine.
Jennifer, I'm going to add to that something that's not talked about much. Chris, you may not even know this, is that once you're a partner of ours, even if the client that gets infected does not have Sentinel-1, our threat team, our incident response team will work with you to help get through the situation and get back on the level ground. And we're going to coach you through the technical aspects of it, as well as we're going to share with you, what to expect from the client themselves, and what their behavior is going to be like, and how to answer the questions that they haven't asked yet, but we know are coming because we've been through it so many times. Our teams work on those types of items to really help you as an MSP preserve and protect your customers.
Yeah, we also know how to explain it. I can say to you guys, an MSP, hey, it looks like this threat executed off the desktop. Well, you and I know that could have come from anywhere. That doesn't necessarily mean that Joe is a rogue employee who executed something on his desktop maliciously. Well, if you aren't careful with how you explain that to your client, you're going to communicate one thing and they're going to hear something completely different. And that's another area where we'll coach you through that conversation. That's part of that incident response and threat team that we were talking about. So no, Chris, it's fine. I mean, I'm just going to kind of fast forward back to where we were. First month, $12, sneak peek. Try the tool. If you want to coordinate with us and deliberately infect a couple of machines, coordinate with us so we can actually show you what is happening and actually show you a rollback and show you what's happening on our end. And it's fascinating. It is just an awesome product. So if that's something you're interested in, go out to carver.net, click on the blue partner registration button, and when it asks for a promo code, put in WISER with a capital W, our friend Chris Weiser. And that's, I know we've got questions pouring in, so, and we'll answer as many as we can today, but if we do wrap up and you've got additional questions, you can reach us info@carver, CARVIR.net.
So yeah, actually a couple really good ones at the end here. So the Carver product pitched today is not an SIEM level system. Can you explain the difference between the two? Also, does the membership cover any cyber liability insurance? So it's a two-part question. Is it an SEIM, which I think we just said no. Can you explain the difference, first of all?
Sure. So a couple of things. So first off, we are an enterprise class antivirus solution. Now, that's what Sentinel-1 is. It replaces your traditional or legacy antivirus. It is not a SIM, but it does give you forensic capability at the endpoint. Now, to be fair, we have a SIM as a service coming out for our partners. We expect to have it officially announced by the end of the month, if not a little sooner. But SIM is typically used to manage and to watch the logs on your firewalls, your routers, your servers, sometimes your endpoints, and doing big data aggregation and analysis, looking for timed attacks or threats or advanced persistent threats that your typical firewall is not going to see. So that's really the difference is, we're looking at the endpoint right now, and SIM is looking at the firewall and the routers and the servers and their logs for unusual activity. The other question on here was, does it include any cyber liability insurance? Well, it's interesting because Sentinel-1 is the first player of its kind to come out with a warranty for their product. They actually offer up to $1,000 per infected machine towards the cost of the ransom if a machine is infected and we can't remediate and roll back and recover the machine. That does not cover your time and effort to work through with the customer. It's not recovery time, but it is $1,000 per machine towards the cost of the ransom to get your data back if they don't defend. So that's pretty valuable.
Yeah.
Next question, Chris.
Valuable,
it came from John.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jay.
John asked if we ever do joint calls with an end user and a partner, webinar style, to help the partner MSP get started on doing the sales process right. And the answer is absolutely. We're doing webinars all the time with our partners to help them present and position their cybersecurity event. We even go so far as we will go on site for events. Like last week, a partner brought me into San Antonio where I actually spoke to a group of about 125 closing attorneys at a association event. And the topic was security. And so I went in representing the MSP. He actually ordered me business cards and a shirt with his logo on it. And then we basically put together his entire booth, his whole sales presentation, the whole the whole seminar. I delivered it, and his only cost was my travel time. We actually covered the airfare and the hotel out there. And that's something that we're doing for our partners. If you get signed up with us, we will actually help you put those events on. And again, your only cost is our travel cost if you need us to come there. And if it's a webinar, there's no additional cost to you.
Okay, that's fantastic. One other question here. What is the price per month after the first month? It said 20 computers, 2 servers, $297, et cetera. Can you just go through that a little bit more?
Yep, for sure. So the first month's $12. Each month thereafter is $197. The retail is actually $297. We've got quite a few partners that are paying $297 per month. Those are actually our rates are going to be going up in January. So that includes your 20 workstation licenses and 2 servers, access to the SOC, access to all the marketing and sales and the coaching and the webinars and the seminars and everything that we talked about. So it's $197 per month after that, and it is month to month, so you cancel anytime.
And then if they want to add more, does that only include, can you back up one slide just so I can see that? Just I want to make sure.
Yes.
Yeah. So right here, so that includes
Yep.
20 workstation and 2 server licenses. Let's say they want to add another, they bring on a new client. What is the pricing on that? Just so everybody's clear.
Yeah, great question. So essentially you are going to buy it one license at a time. We don't have big blocks. So at the end of every month, we look to see how many workstations you've deployed beyond the 20 that were included in your partnership, and you pay $4.05 per workstation. And that's where our partners are usually marking it up to about 7 or 8. And then again, at the end of every month, we look to see how many server licenses you've deployed beyond the 2, and the servers are 1090. And that's where most of our partners are marking it up to about 25.
And one of the
So
things
literally one.
Yeah, go ahead. Keep
going.
Just
one agent at a time. So, if you bring on a 2-user CPA firm, you're just adding, and you've already used up your 20 workstations. You're literally just paying for 2 more licenses.
Yeah, and I think,
go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, one of the things that I did on this was, I was an all-inclusive MSP. So I had everything under one umbrella, and they never saw my breakout costs. So you guys that are all listening on this call, I would really look at that, make it a part of your all-inclusive solution. Have an upgrade package, but don't show it don't give it a per seat cost or any of that stuff. That's my recommendation, at least, because you can kind of almost screw yourself out of the ballpark on that, because then they start putting you against other people and they start line item comparing, and that's always a dangerous world to get in. So I was a big fan of looking at it from that standpoint. So I think it's extremely reasonable pricing, and it's very solid. Ryan, hopefully that answers your question. I think I have one more. Let me just see. Can you go through the marketing support a little bit more? Obviously, we talked a little bit about what Jay just said there with coming down to help you, but you guys have a portal that they log into. That stuff's just sitting out there. What does that all look like?
Yeah, great question. So first of all, yeah, everything's out on a partner dashboard that you get access to. We have webinar templates, like slide deck templates. We have landing page templates, some direct mail pieces, email pieces. We do the marketing or sales deep dive once a month. Man, I'm sure I'm forgetting things, but we've had a lot of partners say it is the most robust sales and marketing support that they have seen from any vendor they've ever worked with. We just had a partner email us earlier today saying that the deep dive that we did was hands down the best partner webinar he has ever been a part of, and it was specific to sales. So it was fantastic. So lots of slide decks out there that are fully editable.
Something that we're working on together, which is kind of where this whole webinar came from, was putting together some Facebook ads campaigns for MSPs out there as well. So that's kind of
yes.
It's also
that's in the works. Exactly. Yeah. Yep. So good stuff coming.
Okay. Here's one more question. How's the CPU load on workstations? Webroot is low, Bitdefender is harsh, et cetera, et cetera. Well, Jay just answered that, very low, because we don't need to scan every file. So, Jay, do you have any more elaboration on that?
Yeah, typically on a workstation, it's anywhere from 150 to 300 megs of RAM. Literally, it's rare that we see any CPU, network, or disk activity. It's because we don't have to scan every file. Because it's a behavior-based engine first, we're looking for the bad behavior of Word as opposed to knowing whether or not every file is good or bad. It makes it very simple and very lightweight. Okay,
great. Anybody have any other final questions? Put them in. I think I'm good. One more from, is it safe for Exchange servers?
Yes, it is.
You're typing faster than I can even talk, man. That's good. So it's safe for Exchange servers, and I think, hopefully the days of Exchange are numbered. That was always my nemesis. I hated that data server. Okay, well, Jennifer, you have anything else? Otherwise, we're going to close up and head up shop. I think that was a fantastic presentation. You guys have a really good offer in front of you, exclusively from being a part of my groups. Really excited to bring that to you. I believe, Jay and Jennifer, you guys are both friends of mine. We've been, we were actually in Robin's Genius League together, the three of us, which is, going back a few years now. So it's been kind of cool to see everybody mature and do different things. But I believe in you guys and I trust you immensely. Any final words, Jennifer?
I think the only thing I would say is, listen, if Murphy's Law strikes and we disconnect the webinar and you immediately think of a question or you think of one tomorrow, reach out to us. You will find we are very, very approachable. Just let us know how we can help. We love the channel. We desperately want to see everybody in the channel get better security. So, if you need us, reach out to us, info@carver.net. And then that one day only special is really one day only. If your internet dies or you fall asleep putting your kids to bed, like we have heard these stories before about 6 months ago when we did an offer similar to this. It is one day only, and no, I cannot extend it if you fall asleep putting your kids to bed. So I'm sorry, but my boss is a little bit of a stickler, so it is today only.
Right? Yeah, that is what it is.
Yep. Exactly. So let us know how we can help. Chris, it's been awesome. Your group's been great questions, and we will we'll be in touch.
Okay, so one final thing before we sign off. A couple people asked if the webinar is available for replay. There's basically three things. The groups that you're watching this in, this was simulcast as a live video, which means you can go back and watch it as many times as you want. The today only that's on there, the offer, today is what, the 13th, 12th? Today's December 12th.
12th, which is why it's $12.
I have no idea where that's where that comes into play. Okay, I was like, I have no idea what day it is ever anymore because I just kind of live in my little bubble here. But that is available today on December 12th only. But the $197 offer is still, that's always there, and that's a fantastic offer. So this will be available for replay. You can watch it in the groups anytime. It will sit there in the feed. Post comments. Both Jennifer and Jay are in those all three of those groups. So watch them, post comments, post questions. They can answer them. You can also hit up info@carver.net or www.carver.net and promo code WISER today to get that offer. So Jennifer, Jay, thanks a lot for coming on with me today. I think great information, great product. I'm really proud of you guys. Really impressed overall. So we'll be back here. Chris Weiser, Facebook Ads Guy, back with a bunch of different stuff. Got a new webinar coming up next week, a bunch of other content. So really appreciate everybody watching and keep crushing it. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.